is going to be a quick meeting today. It's a fairly short agenda, and I will warn you that I do need to leave at 10:20.
Oh, okay.
Whether we are done or not, because I have to do a presentation at the County Commissioners meeting at 10:30. So, well, why don't we bring the meeting to order? It's 9:03. Start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we can start off with the approval of the agenda.
So, approved.
There is one addition to the agenda, and that is the vacation and payout for our former employee, April Maddox. So, that here. And we could put that under, I guess it's new business, as I can see. You were gonna say something?
Yes, I was gonna ask you if it was appropriate to talk about the developing of the draft for the evaluation for the director.
Yes.
To put that on the agenda, I don't know if it's not done, but I was wondering if we could talk about
I
it.
think we probably should,
Is that-
just so
okay.
that we're keeping that going forward. Also probably under new business then as the director evaluation. Any other additions or corrections? Okay, with that, do we have a motion and support?
I move that we accept the agenda with its corrections
Okay.
and additions.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented with the two additions under new business. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried, agenda approved. We can go on to the minutes of the September 25th regular meeting, which were also in your packet.
I have a correction. I had an error in my spreadsheet for a budgeted line item for the debt repayment. It should have went from 30,000 to 330,000. So if you could just note that correction, and I'll see if the auditor will accept it after the fact. It should have been 330 instead of 300.
Oh, okay, so top of page 2,
Oh.
that
Yeah.
is, so,
Okay.
okay.
All right, any other thoughts? I would make a motion to accept the September 25th minutes.
Is there support?
I support.
Motion and support to approve the minutes of the September 25th, 2018 regular meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. That's approved. Public comment. Correspondence.
I just received this letter from Randy Riley, the state librarian. I'm guessing you guys get this every year. Calculated amount of tax revenue lost due to the Renaissance zone. So we will be getting, or should have received $3,670.26 because of that.
Okay. Moving then on to the financials.
You received a draft of the September financials in front of you. The reason they're draft is because we do a physical tie-out, especially for payables, to make sure we've encompassed all the payables at the end of the year, because this is the end of the fiscal year. And we confirm with the county to make sure that we got all receivables, payables due to the county for tax things that may have changed and they may be due to them or due to us for changes in assessments. And the other thing that we'll be working on with Lisa is the overpayment of the pension, the return that, because that percentage changed. And I want to get that recorded into this end of the year because it deals with this and prior years. So we'll be working on that. Our goal is, or my goal is to have this all done and tied out so that by the next board meeting, we finalize September and can go on and do October as final. So I'm looking to finish that sometime in mid-November, which shouldn't be a big issue,
Okay.
unless I don't get the number from Lisa. So,
So then, since these are draft, you're not looking for the board to approve or ratify these today. We will do that next month once you've tied up those loose ends on the year end.
correct.
Okay.
So if we look at the balance sheet, you'll see that the cash position, what's in the sum of Johnson, cash on hand, chemical, checking, and at the county treasurer, $554. Penal fines receivable, 11,000. That's actually fairly high compared to what it normally is at this time. Prepaid expenditures, that we have to finalize the adjustment on that. Accounts payable, there was an unusually higher accounts payable at the end of the year, but that's all been taken care of. And then the amount due to Manistee County Library, that's already been taken care of. And then the equity section.
And these balances reflect our loan repayment that we approved last month.
Yeah, in the income statement side of it, it does reflect the transfer to the capital improvement fund and the payment of the debt to the county. So those transactions did all take place before the end of the year. Then the next few pages are for the month. And you can see the various numbers. I mean, on the revenue side, there's some, I mean, last year at this time you had a big designated gift and that had to deal, I think, with the back porch item, the new setting there. So that's easily explained, pretty much in norm. The expenditure side of it, a lot of the categories are pretty much the same, other than on page 3 of the month. Yeah, page 3, you can see the $300,000 that was paid back for the debt repayment.
Boy, I'm sorry, did they say thank you?
I don't think that was.
Were there any balloons or fireworks that went off?
I don't know.
No balloons or fireworks.
We didn't hear about any.
But when I talked to both Russ and David, they were thankful.
Good.
And then the 200,000 on page 5, you'll see the $200,000 transfer to capital improvement. So I mean, it looks like you really lost a lot of money in September, but 500,000 of it was from those two items, which is your normal loss. I mean, 127 is the normal loss for that type of time of year. Then moving on to page 6, this is the year-to-date numbers. As you can see, penal fines did come about and this number could possibly change a little bit when we get the reconciliation from the county. It's 134. Then some of the other line items you can see, of course, total revenue that came in 1.427 compared to a budget of 1.431, so pretty close. When you're talking $4,000 difference in revenue budgeted, that's peanuts when you're dealing with the budget that you're dealing with.
But this reflects the amended budget, correct?
Yes,
So it should be close.
should be close.
So, I know this is silly, but just the new library cards, it's half of what was budgeted. 45, I was just wondering, are you seeing that we're not handing out new library cards, or? I'm just wondering about something.
Well,
like
this
that.
is fees we're getting from library?
Well, we
or-
don't-
Oh, maybe I don't understand what
They don't
it is.
charge like they used to charge. They used to charge anybody out of county, but they no longer charge for anybody in state. So
Oh.
I don't know what,
So
it was
this
just
really
a couple
doesn't
years
reflect-
ago, so I think they just
Yeah.
put this number in here, not really knowing, because like I said, you're not charging anybody in state, so the people that you're going to most likely get here, except for, a few people from summertime, it's going to be a lot less
Oh,
than
okay.
what they're, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think it
Really
really is
tell
a
us
guessing
anything.
number.
Yeah, that's silly then, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh,
No, that's
fine.
Well, actually, I'm curious then, what do we get revenue from for new library cards?
It's anybody out of
Just
state.
out of state people?
So if
Yeah.
you're from Indiana and you summer
So
here and you get a library.
If someone loses their card, do we charge a replacement fee, and would that go here, or is
Just
that
need a
different?
license.
I don't know, do they charge?
If somebody loses.
A dollar?
If you lose your card,
Mhm.
they charge $1
Okay,
for the replacement card.
and would that get
Yeah.
logged
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Oh, okay.
new replacements?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
But if your card wears out, they don't charge you to replace it.
Okay, sorry about that.
I had a question on the USF reimbursement.
That's
Since
one of
we're
the adjustments that we do at the end.
Okay, so that's
Because
still,
that's submitted or we get notification, and then we record it as a receivable. It always comes in later.
okay.
That should have been received in July. We received a statement, so I don't know if I should get that to you.
Yeah, see where it got posted because, or if we ever got it transferred, if it came, did it actually come into our account? Or,
Because that was something I think that Taylor, entered, because I looked yesterday, and it was posted, at the end of July,
okay,
QuickBooks.
okay.
Um,
Traditionally, it hadn't been here by the end of the year, so, yeah.
Okay.
So give me
Track that.
the amount and deposit and we'll transfer to that account. Because usually it's.
Did you see that it was deposited, Helen? Did you find it?
It was deposited into QuickBooks, the system.
But I mean, into our bank account, because there's been those things that have been going to the county and then them binding them with the state aid, remember?
Yeah, but I started to look for it, but I didn't find it, but I need to go back and look for it.
So if you could give me that notification of the dollar amount,
Yeah.
because it could be sitting over to, if she couldn't find it right away, it's probably sitting over at the county.
Mhm.
I guess for future reference, maybe when you get those, shoot us a copy of it.
Okay,
So
yeah, we
could
just
be-
got it.
We could be alerted to the fact that we should have it.
Usually I give those to Taylor with the month.
Okay, I'll double check with her.
And
see
I
that.
will look at a statement, the bank statement too, to make sure that it was deposited and maybe send it to her.
Okay.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We do it
Yeah, so
however
if
we
it's not-
can, however we can,
Yeah, if it's
Right.
not deposited, then like you said, maybe it's sitting over there at the county waiting for us to pick it up.
Well, it's one of those automatic.
It's automatic.
So what happened with the state aid was it just went into Manistee County's account.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Needs to get
We need
sorted
it.
out, yes.
Wow, it's interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
Airport deposits sometimes.
goes there
So
too.
I get a little scared that, we just through casual conversation, uncovered this little tidbit. And,
It's partly the reason we review, because you're looking for outliers.
It does, it
An
makes you
outlier.
wonder, like, if you don't really, know what's coming in, you could just lose sight of that. And
yeah, But so next year, like you're learning all the things that are typically coming in and then you'll know, so you'll start looking for them.
But also, as we saw in the conversation, Dave, because of his history, is aware that it should be coming in and was expecting it as an
Right,
after the
right,
year end.
year
Right.
It's just
Traditionally, I
the
had
process is happening a little bit differently, so it's not like it was overlooked. That's actually part of the year-end closing process, is to go
Yes.
through and make sure all of those
Ah,
things
got
get
it,
tied up.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, good.
Moving on to the expenditure side, I think everything here is pretty much in line with what we expected, based on our conversation at the last meeting. And as I've already pointed out in the monthly stuff, the repayment of the debt and the transfer to the capital improvement fund. And of course, starting on page 11, capital improvement fund now shows a balance of $311,000. So incoming $270,000.
The Bear Lake branch improvements, I know we were talking about that last month. Have those been expended, or will that be in this, I guess, not past fiscal year, or is that in this current fiscal year?
It's in this current fiscal year. We have requested the transfer be done back to at the end of the month, at the end of the year, and it didn't get done.
Okay.
It's taken over there.
Yeah, I know it's taken over there, because I know, because we called and said, "Yeah, we need to do this," and it didn't get done.
Okay.
The transfer didn't get done from capital improvement to the general. So it's a capital improvement expenditure. I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna treat that yet. I may treat it as a due to the general fund from the capital improvement fund, because they're supposed to pay for those expenditures. I can't treat it as a receivable, because it's not a receivable. It's not outside the entity, but I can use a due to, due from, so that we balance it out.
At some point, should we, we've moved the money into capital improvement, should we be assigning it for projects? Do you think from a financial viewpoint or a county viewpoint that it would be good to, have it assigned for certain particular line items?
I would think once the numbers are finalized for September, that it would be a very good idea to do that.
Okay.
And I was gonna say is, I think once we understand, like getting the engineering assessment back, once we understand which projects we're going to be able to do, we've talked about a number of things and run into roadblocks, I think then we'll have more clarity as to how to do that. But yes, I think that should be done when we have the available information. Are there any more questions for David? Again, we're not taking action on this today because it's draft, but I've got a financial related question. And it's basically from the September invoices that was also in our packet. There were two expenses on there that, well, one I've talked with you about, Deborah, but the other one, so our Yellow Pages listing of $1,200.
That's one of those that that mess I've been trying to take care of.
Okay,
That was one I couldn't do it.
okay. You couldn't unwind
I
it
could
for
not
this year.
erase that one.
Okay. Because the description says, YP, I know that's Yellow
Yep,
Pages.
yep.
But the description says Manistee area internet listing. And there's no reason we should be paying
Yeah,
extra
because-
for internet listing.
No, and that's what that $11,000 was
Right.
all of these things right here.
Right.
And I've been able to get rid of most of them, but this one here
So you're
was,
still working on that. Okay,
hopefully there's not any more, but I mean, they keep popping up,
yep,
so.
yep, no,
Don't
I'm-
get to it.
and then the other one is the AT&T bill for the hotspots. So, and we haven't got into usage yet, but, well, I'll refer to it because there's, on the usage statistics, there was 2 usage to date or something for hotspots, and I didn't know what that meant. Hotspot use to date, with a total of 54.
That's how many times they have been utilized total.
Total since we.
Since the end of July, I think
Since
it
July,
was,
so
yeah.
it's August and September, so 2
Yeah.
months worth.
Yep,
Because my understanding is that this approximate $800 is a monthly recurring fee. So we're spending close to
Oh, boy.
$10,000 a year for these hotspots, and about 25 people are using them a month. So if you just take the 800 divided by the 25, you're, I mean, we could basically buy people's cell phone plans
You
for the
could.
same amount.
You can't.
So I guess, and I know we've talked a little bit
Yeah.
about this in the past. Are you reconsidering options internally as to this program?
yes, I've been
I mean,
talking
it was
with
a,
Pam
well,
about it. and-
if you could refresh my memory, did we receive a grant
We
to do
received
this?
a grant to purchase,
The hardware,
um,
which is obviously the least expensive component of this.
right, and, so then I think, I'm not sure.
And the
if
grant
we
was
really-
from who?
From the state.
Okay, so the state was encouraging this type of service?
Any service that you can
Okay.
bring to your community, and
Okay.
Pam thought this was, people are, it's a great service and everything, but exactly at what cost?
Right.
And those are things that, is with everything else that we offer, when you look at the numbers, and you figure it out that way, what is it worth, and so I think we're still looking at those numbers and definitely looking at, can we get it cheaper? Because I know you and I had talked about that.
Is
Right.
it a matter of the community knowing about this?
I'm gonna ask that
Yes,
too.
me too.
We have found it in one of our branches, there has been no checkout, so, that's where we're lacking in a lot of things that we offer people is, the branch managers, the staff is not letting people know what we do have, and so we're trying to get better at, letting people know, because there are so many things that we do offer, that people just,
And this is the kind of service that it just shouldn't be the patrons who are coming into the library. It really has to be advertised to the wider, because this is the type of thing that makes someone become a library user who's never been.
and there was an
there, so
article in
yeah.
the paper on this.
Right, but.
So I think you
yeah,
just have to
it's
keep,
not-
you have to keep selling it.
right. And work on PR for
Yeah.
overall and getting out to the community.
The
I'm
other
trying to
thing-
recall that newspaper that goes out to the eastern portion of our county. I can't remember it, what's it called?
Something, yeah.
I
You know
wonder
that
if,
white,
You mean the
Yeah.
thing they throw out your door?
I have no idea if they throw it at your door, because I don't live out
No,
there.
I
so-
pick
No, I
it
think
up
it's
in
a different-
stores.
I wonder
Oh,
if
yes.
maybe something should go in there, Deborah,
Northern
but
Express.
Oh,
No, I think it's
That's
called, I think it's
something.
just called the bulletin.
bulletin something, yeah, it's got an, yeah.
Yeah,
a
it's
little
white, it's,
White pamphlet.
I have come to find out that a lot of people do know about that. I did not, but
Obviously, I didn't either.
Well, anybody in the city here probably wouldn't care or wouldn't see it.
oh, but it's pretty nice.
But the rest of the
And that's-
county, oh, absolutely. This is the go-to vehicle for information.
There's a lot of good stuff in
The other thing is I wonder if the hotspots will be used more as the days get shorter and people are hunkered in as opposed to being summertime and outside, so.
Okay, just an observation.
it's on my radar.
That's
Okay.
exactly what it is.
Where did I lost my agenda? item is on your list.
Administrative report, actually.
Okay.
Oh, administrative.
So Deborah's written report was included in the packet along with the usage statistics, which I already kind
Would
of
it
asked a little
be,
bit about, but
would it be totally inappropriate to go back to the minutes? I realize I missed it, and my apologies. Train.
Oh, we heard,
we
yeah.
were suspecting that that might be
Yeah.
the case, given some other people's
15 minutes
comments.
sitting there. Okay, on the 1, 2, 3, 4th page of the minutes, the second to last paragraph, there was an error in the spelling. Did you catch that?
Nope.
This paragraph starts with, in the discussion that followed, President Lynn had questions. 4th line down, Ms. Blazwinka redrew her motion. It should be withdrew.
Thank you.
And was there anything else?
Well, there was other stuff, but you know, they can sit.
Okay. Ellen, I'm assuming you got
Yeah,
that
yeah, I
correction.
make a
I
notation.
don't think we need to
No
reapprove
sense
that
in
based on
belaboring it,
that.
but I do.
But,
I have a few additions to my director's report. We reposted the youth services coordinator position for the 3rd time. We interviewed 2 applicants last week. One ended up withdrawing, and the other one we're just not confident with that decision, so we reposted it yesterday. Yesterday, a deer hit the van.
Oh, bummer.
And Larry's okay, thank goodness, because it's the windshield. Take a look at it on your way out. And also over the weekend, there was a crazy driver in Onekama that hit the drop box, and knocked it through the window.
Oh, boy.
The drop box is out behind the book house, so take a look at it.
Wow.
So yeah, so we're, taking care of everything that we need to get those things taken care of. And then maybe on your way in, you might have saw the, Spicer Group truck out there. So they were here, doing their measurements, finding, the blueprints that they need. And so, he said it will probably be a couple weeks, so we can hope.
with regards to the truck and the drop box, I'm assuming those are insured.
Yes, it was
But
ironic.
it's.
I had called the county yesterday for something else regarding our liability insurance I wanted to know about. And then I had to end up calling David later in the day to find out what we needed to do, so, yep.
So, again, you're learning something you haven't had to deal with
Yeah.
before, is
Yeah.
how our insurance works.
Yep.
And I was curious, do you know what our deductible is?
I don't know any of that
Okay.
yet, but I know, well, I was asking Helen if she had a copy of it, so I'm going to get a copy, when this is all.
The deductible is usually different when a deer hits you because it's considered an act of God. And so when I've had a couple of deer, and I think it was $50 instead of my usual, or they waive that one and
Anything else? Any questions for Deborah on her report?
We had a reptile program on October 13th, and
100 people plus?
over 120 people. My daughter and my grandson came into town, so we walked down here, and I couldn't believe it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to tell the board, we need a new building with a bigger room. I just couldn't believe the people. I mean, there wasn't enough seats. We were standing outside the door here, and there were people that had to just sit over in the kids' room.
Wow.
But yeah, it was amazing.
Reptile program.
Yeah, he had snakes and alligators and turtles.
And I'm just curious, was anything done differently to promote that? Because, I mean, while I can understand it being interesting, it doesn't seem like.
Big draw.
Yeah.
You never know, you
You
just
never
don't
know.
know.
I would think if you have, especially for boys, there's a lot of programs that maybe aren't where you wanna go.
There were a
to the
lot of
library.
girls too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw some of the Facebook
Yeah.
pictures, but yeah, there was the,
That's great.
I think there was a
What
girl.
about standing room only? Can we have it more than one time, maybe, or will we,
Get them next year.
you know, repeat the program and maybe?
Well, I've been thinking about, because I had met with Robert at the Armory, maybe utilizing their space down there for these bigger programs, you know, that we
Right.
think that might be a big draw. I mean, they have the
They
space,
have the space.
you know, so that's something that Julie and I talked about afterwards. So.
Okay. If there are no other questions, we can move on to committee reports. Policy committee is the only committee that I believe met, is that correct?
I don't have the minutes, I'm sorry. But I can tell you that, I apologize, I forgot to write them. But they probably would have been all of 2 sentences, which is, we reviewed the bylaws and we are done with our first draft. We did not start the financials yet because we pretty much spent the entire meeting finishing the bylaws.
So, is that then to come to the board soon?
Did it?
It's in the,
It's right here.
it's the,
Oh. Okay.
So we'll get, I guess we'll get into the nitty gritty, although Deborah, I don't have the bylaws in my packet.
I didn't put them in
No.
because I had sent them to you too. I don't
Right.
know if you didn't get them or, I don't know.
I didn't get them.
My emails, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so we're actually not going to look at them today?
I got them.
Oh.
Okay.
So I thought maybe we could just, you know, go through them and then the board could take them with, and then we could come back next month.
Okay.
And then we can go ahead and approve them.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good,
Give
yeah.
us some homework, yes, it's good.
So,
That's on the,
that's.
down.
Okay, I see. So that's all of our committee reports. So old business projects update.
Okay, I told you the Spicer Group was here this morning. I have received one tile quote from Plastic Interiors and I'm waiting for Hagelin's to come and measure. And once we have that in place, then we can get those, the asbestos removal and the tile replacement, figure that out. And then with the expenses that we have done with the Selma, we have about $3,000 left in Selma for this year, which we need to spend by the end of December. So we have begun talking about maybe starting researching our shelving that we would like to do on the main floor, because we have one section, you guys remember where the magazines came out of, we have those metal shelves there we can take out. And so we thought we could start with that section there. That's where we would talk about maybe putting either our new books or our Michigan collection. So we thought we could utilize that $3,000 there to get that started.
I like that idea. Michigan
I do
collection.
And I'm assuming by the way you were describing that is this shelving decision would eventually basically replace all shelving throughout the library.
Yep.
So we have
Yep.
more modern and then consistent
Yes.
shelving that is maybe more, I don't want to say more functional. Shelves are shelves, but
Right.
More
the
updated.
style that we have with being very tall and very dense isn't necessarily what you see in a lot of libraries today.
Right, yeah, and we've talked about that, you know, making them shorter. Of course, we're going to have to get rid of so much of our collection, which we've already talked about, and also moving them down so that there's space at the end to be able to go around,
Which is an ADA requirement.
Yes, so, yeah. So I thought we could start looking and say, okay, this is what we like, this will work here, and then just start
Right.
piecing it.
And you know, I mentioned pulling them away from the walls so you can basically wheelchair access all around is the idea there. But that's also part of the reason that they're shorter is if someone's wheelchair bound, they can't reach up to the top of a very tall shelf. So it's a lot of things driving kind of the modern style. And I think it looks nicer because it leads to a more open
Opens it up, and it's
space.
also sight for the staff too, you know.
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
You know,
Yeah,
you
can
can't
actually-
you can't see people if they're hiding in the stacks, or, you know, if something's going on, which you hope not, but,
Right.
you know, just,
You never know.
it has happened in libraries, so.
Okay.
So I have no interior design in me at all, but I just trust that somebody is looking at all the different components that were, you know, I'm not a piecemeal person myself because I can't do that, but someone's thinking about how it's all fitting together and how it's all looking so that collectively at the end, it all goes together.
And that's what,
Someone's got some,
Pam and Kim
they
and
got
myself
some of that.
were, you know, we'll talk about, you know, when we were purchasing all that stuff, okay, so this is gonna go with this, and making sure that the color is,
Yeah, that's what.
you know, and then thinking about the wall colors, so they've got it all figured out, I think.
Perfect, perfect.
Does this mean as the replacement occurs, it's going area by area?
I don't know exactly yet how we're going to approach the fiction and the nonfiction, maybe doing one part at a time. You know, because otherwise, if you do the whole entire thing, then you're going to, as we've talked about, having to close up for, you know, a good amount of time.
Yeah.
Because I mean, ultimately, it's shelves, carpeting, paint,
Yeah.
I mean, all of those pieces.
So you gotta
that
get them
you're gonna
to
do.
line right up, so that.
And I'll throw in there ceiling
Lighting.
and lighting,
Mhm.
because when we did this floor, we did not do that. Because
Right.
obviously and that's in some ways a bigger project because it's.
Yeah, well, because we also realize an immediate decrease in our electric bill.
There's also energy savings,
Mhm.
there's actually a payback on that investment. But again, while you're thinking, you know, trying to plan that in. And it doesn't mean you have to, but the nature of both of those would require basically shutting down that portion, so you kind of want to think about them together, but.
Did you guys have, I believe I saw some, I don't know if you guys received quotes or something when you were doing for the HVAC, do you recall that? I remember seeing something in some of the stuff
I don't
to do
think
with
so.
lighting.
I mean, we had quotes, but that was for the areas we did.
Okay.
It wasn't a requirement that we do the lighting and the ceiling, but we just decided to because since we were basically in the ceiling anyway. So that was an add-on item to that project.
Okay.
But we did not ask to do the whole building at the time. Because the plan never
Okay.
was to close the entire building down. It was just basically.
We can still
certain
get
floors.
approximate costs for the
Yes.
space. I mean,
Yes.
even though the space you're talking about, fiction and nonfiction, is really larger, but still,
Right, yep.
it's a place to start. Under old business, just a question, were we going to discuss at some point the Ketty Nordconk? I know you were waiting to hear back from them, but did we get copies of the current contract?
I believe so. I know I did.
We did it.
I believe I emailed it to you.
I think it was
Randy
emailed out.
did? Okay, but I'll double check.
I know I did stuff right away that day.
Oh, let me see, yeah, maybe, sorry,
Well, I know I got it.
okay.
It's just-
I
Yeah,
have,
it was sent out to everybody.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was, okay.
The subject was Bear Lake contract.
What date was it? September
September
25th. Yep, sorry, thank you, okay, great.
But since you bring that up, I will comment is, I think the existing contract is perfectly fine. I don't think that there's really anything that needs to change. would be my opinion after reading it. I think it's actually a very good contract. I think it fairly clearly delineates who's responsible for what.
Do you think so?
You can always refine, but I think at least in my reading, I think the categories are appropriate for each party. So I think there might be, you could change wording to clarify,
And that's what I would like, because
but
I
don't think it makes sense to reopen it and like say, oh, we're gonna start from scratch.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good, well thought out delineation of services.
I thought it needed to be more detailed, because with Dave Adams coming and saying, this is your responsibility, and I say, well, this is what this says right here, and he reads it differently, you know what I'm saying? And so that's where I wanted some
Right.
clarification.
Right, no,
You know-
I understand that, but I don't, in my reading, I don't think it's unclear.
Okay.
I
Just
agree with
because
you.
Dave may disagree,
Yes,
I don't think it's unclear.
so
I think
then,
it is very clear.
so then
And by going down the path of making it more explicit, you're always gonna not think of things. And then everything that comes up is gonna be, well, this isn't mentioned in there, so only the things we thought of are mentioned. So I'd be careful going down that path too much.
Because once you open it up, it's all then up for discussion.
So then
Every-
when I'm not sure about something and he's telling me that this is your responsibility, what do I do? Do I just, what I've been doing is just, okay, let's just take care of it. You know what I mean? But at some point, you know,
Tell them it, they can find lawyers to, I mean, say at this point, this is our interpretation, and we'll have to stick with it. I mean, if you need to come back to the board.
yeah,
Or a
that's
committee
what's
for that.
challenging is, you know, when
And
he
just-
says.
And we can say in the minutes, no, we've decided they've made this request, we have, so maybe we need to be putting it in the minutes, we're backing. If we're saying, yes, we will pay for this, or no, we will not, then it's up to them what they want to do next.
Okay,
I think, yes, I think bring it to us.
okay,
And then we can provide direction, and I think if we're in agreement that the contract is on our side, then we'll basically say no, and if he wants to pursue it through some other means,
Okay.
they can do that.
I'm fine with that. I just, like I said, with the things that he has, you know, come to me and said, this is yours, and I, you know, that first meeting I went to, and I said, this is what I'm reading right here, you know, and he says, no. So,
Say, yeah.
you know, what do you do?
Right.
Then it's like, all
I mean,
right,
Helen
so-
knows what, you know, and.
But he's not your boss.
No, and that's what I was
that's-
saying,
Yeah.
that's, you know,
Yeah, so
Just because he wants you to pay for everything.
exactly.
that's exactly the goal.
And that's
Right.
what the staff has said, that's the
Yeah.
way he's
Yeah.
been,
I'm sorry, but
you know.
according to the contract that you wrote,
Right.
we don't pay for everything. I mean,
He was
Would
involved
you
in that
make
contract.
arrangements to have it resent to me
Sure.
at my other email address?
Which
It
one?
must be my Yahoo address, the Gmail account that I have.
Yeah, I had emailed you and Tamara, or you had emailed me and I asked you what that email address was. I had an issue with my computer, late last month. All of my stuff, my documents got wiped out, my email got wiped out. So I am starting my job from scratch again. So it's been very challenging, so any emails that were sent out prior to September 20-something, I don't have. I had to redo all the email addresses. So if you'll email me from that email address, then I
The
will have it.
Gmail account, yeah.
Huh?
The Gmail account?
Which one do you want?
Well,
Yes, you're saying that, yes, I have the Yahoo. I need the
the
Gmail.
Yahoo doesn't, I mean, I'm not getting stuff.
She's just saying email her so she has the right email
Yeah,
address, 'cause
you
she doesn't
email me
have
from that
a
Gmail.
contact.
Yeah, you
Oh,
sent,
you don't
you sent
even have it,
Deborah.
okay.
No, I'm saying, yeah, because all of my stuff got wiped.
Right.
And it was sent to your Yahoo, so that's why. Anything else under our old business? Specifically related to the projects? Think so? Okay, we can move on to new business. Library attorney.
just basically an update, I had reached out to, Ann, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She's an attorney that a lot of libraries in the state of Michigan use. And so I emailed her and she said, we would love to work with you, so let me know what other information you may need. So if there are questions, anything you guys would like answered, please email me and I will find out. Our current hourly rate for most services, including library law services, is $200 per hour. We are happy to give estimate of time too. The only two areas that fall outside that rate are bond. Rates are determined by the size of the bond, and employee benefits, capped at $250 an hour. We also do some flat fee work. For example, we typically charge a flat fee of $200 per model policy. This would be something that you would agree to on a project-by-project basis. So.
I thought the original reason for contacting her was also to have her as the backup for the Bear Lake contract.
Well, we're not there yet.
Okay.
I need to contact the state first to find out, remember, if they're a board.
If they're a real board.
Right.
So, Deborah, did they happen to, I don't know how much legal work we're gonna need during the course of a year. This year, we're trying something new with the county, with employees, and, I know we've got some other legal issues. Did he happen to mention how much a retainer
I can ask.
costs?
Like I said, I didn't know the questions to ask, so that's.
Yeah, I don't know, you really think this year will be that different?
I don't
Because we've
know.
we've never spent that much on legal fees, so to pay someone a
I don't know.
retainer.
And I
I would
know
love
if
to
it's-
do it on a case by case, because
Okay.
we may have no need for a lawyer.
Well, the
this,
only,
you know.
I agree with you, the only reason I was thinking if the retainer was low enough, I know we're doing something different with human resources. And, she's a new director and she has questions that she has expressed that she wishes she had and they're trying to bounce ideas off of. We're in the middle of doing policy updates, at, the Bear Lake thing. So I'm not suggesting that we spend a lot of money on retainer. I was just curious to know if she had something that, she had a figure, I wonder if it would be worth it, something to consider. That's, but I agree with you, I don't wanna spend a ton of money on retainer if we don't need it, but we do have questions.
Yeah. Well, because some of our questions that are non-library related or more general, we probably have, I assume through the county, we have some resources we could use, or someone local, if it's just if it's not, so, this is the person we'd use for purely things that, where a
Purely
library is a
library.
different animal than other legal entities, so.
Right. Oh, okay, I see what
But
you're saying.
yeah, it's not that we'd call her for every,
Right,
if if a patron hit the building and sued us, we probably wouldn't be working
Utilize her.
through that.
Okay, that's
know,
good
but,
point, good point. I don't know if the county has an attorney though, even
That we
like,
could use.
I don't know, they
I'm
go
sure
right to
they
the,
do.
Well,
they go
Well,
right
they
to the,
do.
I don't think you should assume anything, because they go right to the prosecutor to utilize their
Right.
services, and I just know now with some of my dealings with the county as a subcontractor, they kind of wonder who to go to.
Okay.
and traditionally, we have utilized, can't think of his name,
Richard?
well, that firm, but not.
Yeah,
Michael Myers?
right, Michael,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's,
Richard Wilson?
yes, Richard
Yeah.
Wilson
Okay.
has
Oh,
done
okay.
things for us in the past.
Okay, well, I just throw it out, we don't need to talk anymore, but I just throw that out there.
I have a feeling the retainer wouldn't be cheap enough.
Wouldn't be
I mean,
cheap
if we're gonna
enough,
spend several thousand and just reserve that.
Then that's
yeah.
set then, yeah.
And I think it's a good question to ask, but my process I would recommend that we would go through a year, and then once we understand what our expenses are, then evaluate, could we save money by doing something,
That's a good
as
idea.
opposed to anticipating what we're going to need, and I don't think we know that yet. But if there's a significant discount, that might change my thought on it. So you're still, you're not at the point of asking us for approval of anything at this point, correct?
Nope.
Okay. Bylaws, review of the first draft.
any revisions or additions are in red.
What is blue?
Blue is just.
Blue doesn't mean anything.
No.
Okay, so red is the only
Adding
thing
some
to.
color to it.
Okay.
And Tamara had retyped this for us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tamara.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
I think it was just when you do the titles, automatically when you do the headers, they pop it into a color.
And so that's why there's numbers, because it was easy for us when we were revising to look at the number of the line. And then we had a hard time getting it back to format. So once we have it all finished, hopefully we can get it formatted right for your final draft. So I don't know, if probably the best way to approach this is just let everybody take it home. You know, if you want to compare it to the old one. We did take out the financials section that's in here because the financials is its own policy, yes, that we will be doing next. So we didn't feel like that needed to be in here also. But everyone may think differently. So take this, review it, jot down any questions, anything you think should go, and then we could next month make sure that we make time to go through this section by section.
Okay.
Sound good?
When you look at the old one versus the new one, you're gonna notice that it's been reorganized. So it may be a little disorientating at first, because you're gonna see that sections have been moved around, and they've been moved around because they made sense to fall in a different order than what the old ones.
And some parts of different articles are put in with another article, because the logic of it was better. Yeah, the one I'm referring to is what way we moved around the trustees' term of office, trustees' state responsibilities. And then Article 6, there was changes in that.
And perhaps it doesn't need to be said, but the content of the changes, Deborah had done research, Joyce had done a lot of research as well and brought a wealth of experience as far as board development and processes. And so we didn't just make up this stuff. Yeah.
We took some of it from other libraries.
Really thought it through, yeah.
Well, that's good, because you don't want to reinvent the wheel.
No, you wanna take the best that's out there and what makes sense for others.
Exactly.
So when you do look at the board ethics, it is, you know, it's a lot in red, and that was one that we spent a lot of time talking about, is what is our role as board members and how do we conduct ourselves within meetings, but then also with, in the library itself, so, and then, you know, processes, we thought a lot about, so anyway, I think that's enough said.
Yeah, we restated some statements because the original document wasn't very clear. But it looks like you've kept quite a bit all, I
We
mean,
did.
just,
Right.
yeah,
We
from
did.
the
We
original
did.
one, yeah.
No need to throw it all out.
Yeah,
There's
some
just
sections
things
are, have.
You
minor
recognize it,
changes. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Okay.
Thank you
Everyone
very much
has
for your
homework,
hard work.
Yeah, thank
and we can discuss that more next week, or next month. I'm assuming if we do have any questions, we can direct them to the committee before next month.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a,
We shouldn't necessarily wait until next month to,
right, just send
get
it,
our
Deborah,
feedback.
we'll meet before the next
Right.
meeting, so it's a good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, Deborah can collect all that and bring it to
okay. Next item under new business is the unused vacation payouts for April Maddox. So I will let you talk to that.
As you all know, April left, she was our youth services coordinator, and after each employee leaves, we have a payout that they earn vacation or personal time. And hers accumulated to $463.13, and the board needs to approve to pay this out.
So I entertain a motion to that effect.
So move.
Support.
Okay, so there's a motion and support to authorize the payout of the unused accumulated vacation, sick time, and personal day payment to April Maddox in the amount of $463.13. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, motion approved. Director evaluation.
So I wanted to put this on the agenda because I wanted to let you guys know what, where we're going with this. I produced a first draft of it. So first of all, we're doing these, Deborah is requesting, and I think it's fantastic. She would like to have an evaluation, as all directors of boards really should. And so in the
And I'll
personnel.
interject there that this is probably one of the few boards that I'm on that actually has done yearly evaluations of our director, generally in December.
Yeah, and that's, we're gonna talk about timeline.
Yes.
So she shared with us what the evaluation was from her previous, and then, and I volunteered to write the evaluation. So, the evaluation is for the board to evaluate Deborah, not for anybody else to evaluate Deborah. It's just for the board. It's not for, certainly not the employees. That they have nothing to do with evaluating Deborah at all. But I did a first draft, and it wasn't it needs a lot of work still. So it was benchmarked off of our strategic plan. That was the focus of that first draft. And Deborah wisely pointed out that there are other things. I did not incorporate her job description. I completely forgot to do that. And so, and really benchmarking it off the strategic plan is tricky because, as Deborah pointed out, she could basically fail because it's our strategic plan that she is helping us implement. And so when I wrote the evaluation, I even was struggling. So the fact is I was too busy to do anything more to it in the last couple of weeks. So I've got to go back to it and work on it. But the goal was to really have it done, her entire evaluation process done before December, at the end of December. Because then, we'll kick off strategic planning and we'll be in sync with that process as well. And it also, there's some other implications that being done by end of December is really helpful for. So I wanted to let you know that I do apologize, I've just been so busy this month, I could not get to that draft. I hope at the next meeting, we actually are looking at the draft for November and then doing the evaluation in December. That's the goal. And I really wish I had another partner on it, because maybe if I did, then somebody else could have caught the fact that I was being very narrow in the evaluation right from the beginning. If anybody wants to kind of, thank you. I was hoping you could do that. So I will, we've got partnership here and we'll kick it out as best that we can. But I did want to stress that it is the board's evaluation of Deborah. I thought she was really brave for even saying, let's do it. As Barry pointed out, it's really not habit in Manistee County for being done. And with that said, it's really not something that we should be talking to anybody else about. It's a board matter. I guess that's all I wanted to say, although I don't know if there's probably more to say, so I don't know if Deborah and Barry have anything really to say about it.
The reason why I would like the evaluation is because my year is November 6th. Hard to believe, it's almost
Between now and
been
our
a
next
year.
meeting, your anniversary.
Yes,
So I always like to know how I'm doing, what I can do better. You know, I hear from the patrons, I hear from the staff. And what I have done, I want to take back what I said to Tamara, because what I did, I laid out the strategic plan, the outcomes, that back page, kind of like a checklist. And I went through, and everything that's in red is what we've been working.
Bravo.
And so there were only 3 things in here, which really goes back to the board, was respecting the legal relationship between the county commission and the library board, work to clarify the authority of the library board. I really feel that that's something, yes, I should have that communication with the county, but I believe that this is something that the board's been trying to work on for several years, from what I understand. And then engage in 2019 full strategic planning. That's something that we have set for 2019. And then there was the one on the back, the sustainability of the library. Board members will set personal goals to achieve implementation of the strategic plan and report their personal progress towards that goal. So those are the only 3 things on that list that in some way or another that we haven't started. So I was actually, this was really good for me to go through this process to really see what we've accomplished in a year. I always do this at every library that I'm at, because you think about all the things that you do. And, you know, I give you guys a report every month, probably more than what you want to know, but it's a way for you to see what I'm working on. I also did another list of accomplishments since November 6, 2017, and that's a whole other page. So I wanted to share that with you guys as you prepare for my evaluation.
So, Deborah, then maybe it was a little, I think there were some of those things that I did leave off because I recognized they had nothing to do with you, like our own personal goals. But did you find then that maybe it's not too off, and maybe we can continue with that? Maybe we should have, Joyce, and we should meet and talk about the evaluation a little bit more and see.
And I think in light of kind of, I'll call this your kind of self-evaluation, in light of
Yes.
using that, I think that would be good. But one of the things you did mention, and I do think, is tying in the job description
Yep.
and making
Yep.
sure that piece.
Yeah, we
because
talked about that right in
probably
the beginning.
Probably some of those, your
Right.
extra page is gonna fall into that category, because both of those pieces are important. You know, the job description is more the day-to-day. The strategic plan is really trying to get things moving forward, and both of those are what Deborah is working on.
What we have to remove is the task-oriented focus, because this is not who she is and this is not what she does.
Mhm.
No, this is what distinguishes her evaluation from anybody else.
Right. So one thing I will add to this conversation, and it is related, but it is not necessarily directly part of the evaluation, and that is just to make the board aware that I believe every single employee of the library system has received a salary increase this year, except for Deborah. And as part of this process, that is also, you know, an outcome that needs to be looked at. And I want the board to start thinking about that, because, you know, yes, you're not technically at a year yet, but you will be before this process is done, and everybody else basically got a salary increase roughly at the beginning of the fiscal year. So, you know, most of those are contractual, negotiated things, but you know, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're taking care of our director in those areas as well. So, anything else that you have on this topic? Anything else you have? Okay, then I think we're at trustee comments. Tamara, anything generic to add?
Well, I just don't know, you know, that there's an elephant in the room about, and I'm hoping that we flesh it out as we look through the bylaws, but I'm just going to say it out loud. It's board interaction with staff here. And I just want board members to know that I'm hoping that we have that discussion as we go through the bylaws and maybe even through this evaluation of Deborah. You know, what is our role as board members? And how do we conduct ourselves when we're not in this room? And what should we and shouldn't we not be doing when it comes to staff here? And so I just say that out loud, that that's gonna be something that we're gonna be talking about.
My assumption has been, and I know we were trying to get together and it didn't work, is I wanted to read what
Right,
the ethic type conversations in these, because I think that's the appropriate
Yep.
forum for the board to be doing that. And
I
now we
agree.
kind of have the first draft, and we already said that that's a topic for next month, so. Anything else?
no, thank you.
Ross?
Just off the top of my head, so building off of what you're saying, Tamara, is at some point, I don't know that we've ever done board evaluations, but that might be another step for us to do. Take up some time.
Yeah.
That's all I've got.
And actually kind of piggybacked onto that is, I mean, we're at the end of October. We probably need to start thinking of our strategic planning exercise for 2019. I think the last few years we've done it in January, and October is not too far in advance to start putting a date out there to be planning that for January. So I guess I would ask Deborah to start planning that. And I
Do you
think
want me to plan?
our board strategic planning exercise. And I'm going to, I mean, the last 2 to 3 years, Tamara has done it, and that's probably no longer possible. Because
It's
last
not
year it was
inappropriate in a way.
already challenging for you as you were coming onto the board and wrapping that up.
Yeah,
We need to think of a resource to do that. And again, that's why we should probably start talking about it or thinking about it sooner rather than later. Otherwise, January will be here and gone before we've even thought about how to
we could do it ourselves, I don't know, it depends on what we wanna do, but we should
We
think
certainly
about it.
could,
Yeah,
but because of your training and experience, I don't want to impose on you an expectation because I know when you're facilitating, you can't participate as well.
that is very true, I appreciate the
And
consideration.
Therefore, it might be better to have an outside facilitator or maybe rely on Deborah to take over that role since this is more of a board planning exercise and Deborah facilitating. We just need to think through that
Let's
process.
think through it, yep.
I think we should hold on to the concept of facilitator, someone from the outside, or neutral, if you will. If it's camera, it's a different role for her.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else, Ross?
I was looking at December dates. Did we pick a date for our board meeting? Because it actually falls on Christmas.
Yeah, I think we had already set it for the,
I
think it's the 18th.
Year.
It's the week
Okay, I just
before,
wanted to
yeah.
make sure, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, okay.
Yep, 18th.
Okay, great.
Joyce, anything?
No, I have nothing.
I just want to commend Deborah for starting the remodeling and finishing the reference room. I was here on Friday, and I think every seat was full.
Yes.
And they were all sitting in there reading, and it was just so bright and cheerful, and so I just wanted to say thank you.
We've had some, thank you. We've had some patrons that go in to read the newspapers, and so I think they were going to do it this morning. Pam and Kim, we put together one of the round tables that we purchased for the nonfiction area because we need more table space in there. I'm not sure what they came up with, so it'll be a surprise to accommodate those patrons because once you get someone in there sitting at that table, they take over the whole table, you know, and so then you get these people in there, you know, we had bought a laptop table, you know, we've got the little stands in there, but I guess some of the patrons want to just put out the newspaper, so we're trying to accommodate that.
And I also noticed that they're using their laptops like in the fiction area and in the nonfiction, so that seems to be, they seem to be using more of the library space as opposed to just one section, so I think that's really good.
Interesting observation. So they're migrating all on their own.
Yes, they are.
Well, and I think that ties into the fact that the improvements we're doing are to make it a more welcoming environment.
Right.
And that means people are more comfortable to utilize their space, so, thank you.
Yeah, I had, I'm gonna give you guys a copy of this, even though I know my evaluation is a couple months out, I would like you to take this. But I think I told some of you, when I get nice comments, my staff writes them on these slips of paper, and I put them on my computer screen so that I can see them, because a lot of time what you hear is negative, and that really weighs on you. And so I decided to take this approach to it and take all the good comments and just put them in front of me. So recently I was working up at the circulation desk, and a woman came up to Becca and said, "Who's the new director?" And Becca said, "She's right here." And she was just going on and on and on about all the improvements, and she's like, "I just can't wait to come in and see what you're doing next," you know. So it was just this really nice, I mean, she took it from the entryway to the reading room, and so yeah, so it was really nice. And so I've got some other comments on this page here that really makes a difference.
And, you know, credit is obviously due to Deborah for being the driving force to getting these things done, but I also do want to say, from a board perspective, that's what our strategic plan has been saying for a number of years now, is that is our goal, and we're starting now to finally see progress.
And the amount of patience it takes, because it's taken almost a year, but there's definitely progress and definitely changes that have occurred, and the public is noticing it.
And from a, you know, time back to, you know, our financials, we have budgeted now, you know, funds to continue that process, which hasn't always been the case. That's typically been an area where we've not been able to accomplish things. And it looks like you have something else to hand out.
I do. I'm just full of stuff today. When I was researching this library attorney, she does a lot of articles, and so she had a couple here I thought would be really beneficial. You know, part of you know, being on a board is always learning. You know, and I think that's not only for me, but for you guys also. So one article here is 10 critical issues that every Michigan library trustee must know. And I found this really interesting, so I'm interested for you guys to take this home and read it, and just email me back and say, you know, hey, under this, I was surprised to read this. I mean, some of the things in here, I was surprised. One of the things that we talked about in the bylaws was what can take place in closed session. And we really struggled with that. And I think we're still not sure if what we put in there is what, and so this might help us a little bit here. This is behind closed doors, what can a public body discuss in closed session? So there's some reading when you're bored.
I think I'm leaving this meeting with more homework than I came in with, so. Also in your packet were the newspaper articles for the past month. And I think that brings us to the end of our meeting.
One comment, we're losing Dylan Chevalier. Did you see that in the paper?
No.
Yes, he's going to the sports section. He is not gonna be reporting to general news. There's a gal by the name of Bond, I forgot her first name.
Oh. Have you seen that, Helen?
And she's a newbie.
Yes, Joyce?
Did you get it out of the Manistee News app?
Yeah, I saw, I think was it yesterday
Or
or
a couple of few days, might have been
Is she
Saturday or
new,
Friday.
like, new to journalism?
She was a summer intern
Right,
here.
she's Ingrid Bond's daughter. I don't know if you know Ingrid Bond.
So she's a Manistee, yeah, but
Yeah,
she was,
she's-
yeah,
She's a local.
Yes.
She's the
she-
next door, that's so fun. They grow up. But she's new, we should invite her. From the library, one of our board meetings.
Yeah, that's,
Is that what you're thinking?
Well, 'cause- well, I mean, traditionally, the newspaper has always attended these, and
we've been used to such good feedback and upbeat articles. We've gotta keep the flow going.
Yeah.
And so we have to make plans.
yeah.
And so courting her is not a bad idea. That's
Okay.
it.
Okay. I entertain a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Hey.